All right. So in your mind, I want you to imagine a foggy scene, right? And you are tasked with walking through this foggy scene. Now, you can't see anything ahead of you. You can only see what's immediately in front of you. So how do you reckon you'll feel when you have to go from this distance to some point that you can't see at the end of the foggy scene? And I think that's what it's like when you have any type of goal, that it seems like no matter what you're doing, you can't really see that far ahead of you. No matter how hard you try to see that end, and no matter how much you want to see it, and no matter how much you plan, and no matter what you do to try to see it to the end, you just can't see it. The only way you can actually see it is by taking one step at a time. Because the further you go into the fog, even if you don't know what's towards the end, you can see what's immediately in front of you. So with each step, with every single movement forward, you can see much deeper into the fog. And very gradually, that fog starts to dissipate bit by bit as you get towards your destination and things become clearer. And I think that's what it's like for starting anything. When you try to start something, it seems insurmountable. It seems like you can't really do the thing that you're trying to achieve, and it seems so grandiose. And what you must do is try to do what's immediately in front of you, breaking it down into smaller steps. Is that okay? To see what's ahead of me even more, I need to take that initial step. And without the initial step, I won't be able to see deeper into the fog. And I just imagine that the irrational thing I do as a person is that I don't really think that, wait, what if I learn something in this step that might help me take the next step? I'm only focused on if the next step isn't going to get me to my final destination. Like, as in immediately as I take it, what's the point of taking it? But that doesn't make any sense, does it? And let me give you a few examples. I think I've wanted to make a YouTube channel for a long time, like a long time, since 2018, since I got into uni at Drexel University. And a lot of people kept telling me, David, you should make a YouTube channel. You should do this. You should do that. I was like, nah, you guys are. Thank you so much. And, I was getting hyped. I was getting my ego stroked. I was happy that people thought I was funny, or they thought I was worth any sort of attention in any way. And I liked it. I got the dopamine hits. I enjoyed it. But then I realized that I can't keep being satisfied with being told that that's a good plan. I can't keep being satisfied by being acknowledged that if I did this, if I went down this path, it would be a good thing. Until I actually sat down and I said, okay, if I'm not happy with this, what would actually make me happy? And it was starting the YouTube channel. Now, let's say I want to get monetized. I want to start making money from YouTube. What do? I can't just start with a monetized page. What's the easiest thing I can do? Make the page, create it. There is no payment I have to make it. All I need is internet access, right? So you get the internet, which I already have, and then you create the YouTube channel. Once you have that, okay, what's the next step? Make the first video, or not even that. If that's too much, what's the name of the page? Okay, once you make the name of the page, what's the first video you can post? What's the easiest thing you can post? You can just post a video introducing yourself. You see, I think it just starts with taking that first step. You can't make a YouTube channel and gain 1 million subscribers if you never create the YouTube channel in the first place. You can't take a journey of 1,000 steps without taking the first step. And it sounds cliche, and it sounds kind of, like it sounds like it's overused, but it's just the truth. So like I was saying, I think we underestimate what we can learn to actually help us get to the final destination after we take those first few steps. It may not get necessarily easier, but I think it becomes simpler as we keep going. And the level of difficulty might increase, but how we handle it, we might handle it easier. Now, here's what I mean by we might handle it easier. I imagine first starting off with pull-ups, right? I can only do 5 pull-ups. Now, let's say I maintain my weight the whole time and I'm 180 pounds, right? The 180 pounds doesn't necessarily change. It's just that I get stronger, right? So I think the more steps we take, the easier the next step becomes, or the easier we can handle the next step. So it's not that necessarily doing pull-ups becomes easy. It's that taking that first step makes the next step easier. Doing that first rep makes the next rep harder, but also easier to handle the more reps I do. I don't know if I'm entirely making sense, but to me, it just makes sense that when I was trying to do those pull-ups in real life, I realized that first you would start with 3 reps, and it was tough, but you were able to do 3 reps. The 3rd rep was hard, but you still did it, right? So now you're like, okay, now I know my upper limit. Now I know the upper bounds of my strength, so I can try and exceed that next time. So now after taking that first step, that first rep, you know that you can do 2 more. After taking that first step, you know you can take 2 more steps. So really that's the point of this video. I'm doing this and I'm recording in my room because I think that's what I need to do to actually get over this idea that I need to have the perfect setting to make a YouTube video. But I've realized that I've watched too many videos and I've received too many messages that came in an imperfect format, but delivered a very powerful and almost perfect message. So wherever you are today, I don't like saying this is your sign, but if you're seeing this video, I think you should just start the thing that you want to do. Seriously, because if you don't take that first step into the fog, you can't see deeper into the fog. It's just going to remain an insurmountable, unmovable, just undiscoverable, unnavigatable fog. But in reality, that's not the truth. It only gets better. It only gets clearer if you just keep taking that step, keep taking those steps. And initially, it feels hard, it feels tough, but as you keep going, like I said, the fog keeps clearing. So yeah, if you're seeing this, if you're hearing the sound of my voice, I think you should just start whatever you want to do. There will be obstacles, there will be tough things, there will be limitations, but it still has to be done anyway. So yeah, I've been putting off recording in my room for a very long time because I had believed for so long that the setting wasn't perfect and was, not the best setup you could have. But then I realized I've talked about avoiding waiting for perfection for so long because it just doesn't exist. Because I can sit there and picture things that I've waited for so long to execute on to make perfect. But when I got to that vision of perfection, there was only more I wanted to add. Like I would sit there and write a poem for months. I'm like, okay, this poem is gonna be so good. And I'll get together, I'm like, I can add more. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with wanting to improve yourself over and over again. But I think the problem arises when you don't know when to mark something as done. It's time to execute on this, right? I have tons and tons of ideas. I could show you right here, ideas for YouTube, ideas for Instagram, ideas in life in general. But there's always this one obstacle that's just stopping you from starting, right? And they say, a journey of 1,000 steps begins with the first step, 1,000 steps. You need the first one. Anyways, the journey of 1,000 steps, I think, begins with the first step, obviously, and you have to make that decision that you're going to take the first step. And if you don't take the first step, you're not going to go anywhere. And you might think it's cliche and you might think, I've heard this many times before, but if you've heard something many times before and you haven't done it, I think that might show you that it's something you haven't tested, so you don't really know how it's going to go. Like, oh, David, it's easier said than done. David, it's easy for you to say, whatever the excuse is. The thing is, it still has to be done. Because for me, making this YouTube, making videos, creating content, I believe this is plan A. I believe this is the purpose that God has put me on this earth for. And for so many years, I didn't really know what my purpose was going to be. For so many years, I didn't really think I had a special purpose like the people around me. I would have friends that were working at Microsoft, Tesla, some working at Bentley, so people working in very interesting, reputable places, and I wouldn't really be working anywhere like that. So I'm like, what even is my purpose? They would be trusted to, I would talk to people, would go to them for advice. People would go to them to ask them, hey, I need help with this. But when people would come to me, they would ask me about so random things, things that I didn't think were important. But now I'm realizing that this is my purpose, to help other people with what I've learned in the world. And I think this is the best way I can do that, at least for now. So the reason I feel so strongly about starting and recording here and just talking to people making do with what I have is that I believe the message is far more potent than the setting or even the messenger. So yeah, like I said, I think you just need to start. And if this is your sign, if you're a sign person, take this as a sign. I'm not really a sign person because anything could be a sign, right? But if you've heard it so many times that you should start, if you heard it so many times that consistency is the most important thing when it comes to anything, I think maybe you should give it a shot. So yeah, I don't know if I've ended this video already, but yeah, just start. That's the message. As always, Godspeed.